What did you think of this movie?
I enjoyed it. But like when
it's an enjoyable movie.
It's hard.
I do like this movie.
It's hard to not like this movie.
If you actually analyze like the movie and the plot and the bad guy and what's going on, it's not a great movie.
You can tell that the script went through different revisions. Carver just needed to pick a lane and go for it. But instead, it's like every scene, it's as if his motivation is switching.
His motivation is literally, I want to get the broadcasting rights to China so I can have broadcasting rights to the entire world and, make more money.
That's all I got out of it. And I was just like, that's the motivation of our bad guy for the movie. But it's really fun. There's a lot of great action in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Which goes back to, like, we kind of struggle through this every time, right? Where it's like, it's cool and it's sleek and it's sexy. Overall, it doesn't really mean anything. It just defines the term guilty pleasure, because all the Bond stuff is there and the plot is, there are a couple plot holes we'll talk about, but overall, it's very easy to follow. It's not like Octopussy. It's not like The Living Daylights. And that's where this movie is going to be hard to place, because it doesn't have those downsides. Right? It's very simple and straightforward, but it's so simple and straightforward that it just becomes big, dumb action movie, where instead of doing smart stuff, like, hey, let's just pump the brakes for a second. Let's sit with the bad guy and let's get into his head and all that. He's just a big cartoon butthead.
And 1 billion people around this planet will watch it, hear it, and read about it.
So on one side of my brain, I'm like, this movie's a lot of fun, and it is cool and sleek. On the other side, it's like, it's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb.
It's got a nice, shiny Bond facade, but there's not a whole lot of depth when you, like, peek behind what's on the screen.
I have to point back at my analogy of just white bread. It tastes good, but you're not getting any nourishment from it. There's nothing there to sustain you.
No.
Nan's gut reaction number for this.
Gut reaction number, I was thinking below Thunderball at number 12, above Octopussy. But that was my immediate, this is a fun action movie. I had some coffee, I had some coffee cake. I watched this movie and I was just like, eyes glazed over, kind of enjoyed the action.
Yeah, you turned your brain off. That's what this movie does.
So I don't know if I was fully incorporating the, like, okay, there's some weaknesses here or not. But when you actually look and dig, that gets a little bit more difficult.
And that's funny, because where I have it is either above or below Octopussy. It doesn't break the Thunderball threshold. Thunderball's pretty much always been a threshold.
Yeah, as is OHMSS.
Terrible bad guy, but really cool, nails the underwater action and all that. It's got your Connery top-notch coolness. It's got some stupid plot stuff. Of the Connery movies, it's the big, dumb action movie. Maybe You Only Live Twice as well, but Thunderball's the big, dumb action movie equivalent. But it doesn't break that threshold at all, I would say, even though I fucking hate Largo, and I always will. I probably prefer Elliot Carver to stupid-ass Largo.
Yeah, Media Mogul idea is cool.
Yeah, this movie is the equivalent of a feel-good movie within this franchise, a guilty pleasure, if you will. Sleek, it's cool, it's big, it's loud. It has a plot that's simple and easy to follow without any effort. Babes, chases, all the bells and whistles of Bond, but none of the guts, none of the substance, especially coming after GoldenEye. The only moment that really tries to be of any substance is Bond's relationship with Paris, but her portrayal is short-lived and soap operatic.
Yeah.
It's cold Bond, which is good, but somewhat forced. There's just nothing there. I like this bad guy in a cartoonish way, but without any kind of deeper motivation than just wanting to have a news network that broadcasts to everyone on the planet simultaneously.
It's nice to talk to the world.
So overall, he's just a comic book bad guy, which is, again, big dumb action movie. It's fun, but not smart. The news mogul creating the news he sells is honestly interesting, but could have been much darker and more interesting if it went deeper. That is a great idea. It really is. Going after a guy who literally controls everything that goes into people's brains.
I started running mad cow disease stories simply because Sir Angus Black, the great British beef baron, lost £10,000 to me in a game of poker and refused to pay up. Moreover, there's even less truth in the rumor that I took 100 million francs from the French to keep the stories running for another year.
That is an interesting idea. And then taking it a step further, he actually creates the news.
I'm having fun with my headlines. I need to know the exact number of survivors.
It's interesting, but in the end, it's just a big cartoon. Unfortunately, it could have been given that darker, smarter treatment, but it's like they didn't have time for that between 95 and 97. So Octopussy, though, like at first I was like, probably below Octopussy. Then the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe above.
I think it's better than Octopussy only because I think if we remember we talked about Octopussy is so convoluted and so like the thing that I didn't like about it, or we all didn't like about it, was just how overly convoluted it was, how it felt like they were trying to mash two scripts together. And even though we really did like the end of it, the third act of the movie, or the semi-third act of the movie where Bond's trying to stop the bomb, and that part's actually really exciting and really cool. The rest of the movie is just so like, wait, how do the jewels and how does Berlin and how does the Russian, like how do these plots mix together, and it's very confusing. Where this movie is very straightforward. Like I completely understand where it's going. I understand who the villains are. I understand what's at stake, even though it might be cartoonish. And that's what kind of brings the movie down for me, really, is the personal stakes really aren't there. It's very cartoonish. It's really run of the mill. I think it's definitely better than Octopussy. My question is it better than Thunderball? Because there's a part of me that says, maybe it is better than Thunderball. But there's another part of me that's like, I don't know if it's better than Thunderball. And I don't think it's better than On Her Majesty's Secret Services, even though, you guys pointed out how ham-fisted On Her Majesty's Secret Service can be. I do think that movie does plant a very good personal stakes for the Bond franchise as a whole, as well as that particular movie. And I do think there's a lot more class in that film, and there's a lot more trying to say about Bond as a character.
Yeah, it cannot break Secret Service. I have trouble with Secret Service, but Secret Service just attempting to have some kind of meaning automatically makes it better than the big dumb action movie that you have to turn your brain off to enjoy.
But Secret Service is also in some ways is also a big dumb action movie. It's one of the more action.
How dare you? I would never refer to it as a big dumb action movie.
But it does have a lot of action in the film. Like, it is a much more action-packed movie than I think people give it credit for.
Solid action. It's got motivated action. Motivated action. There's too much action in this movie where it's just, what do? We only have
Run, chase,
2 years to come out with, it's like Live and Let Die. When in doubt, just throw a punch and start shooting guns and blow shit up. It's so dumb. This movie's so fucking dumb.
I love it. I love this movie.
It's such a guilty pleasure for me.
I changed my mind. It's number one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's better than Secret Service.
Yeah.
But I do think maybe it could be better than Thunderball, but I could also be swayed in saying it's not as good as Thunderball.
Okay,
so
this is interesting.
That's pretty much where
this is interesting. Hey, buttheads, comment. Send us a comment with your stupid opinions about how much you hate this movie. You're probably right. You should hate on this movie a lot.
But also watch it and have fun.
Yeah, and then
exactly.
tell your friends
Maybe
about it.
chill out. Just chill
remember what you're watching. You're watching a Bond movie, which sometimes is smart, and then other times is stupid.
It's really stupid.
Like I always say, these movies are fantastical and dumb, and it's like at a certain point, he's an action hero. It just goes da, 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 and a bunch of people die. It's stupid, and it's male fantasy, and it's awesome, and this movie's not going to be at the fucking top ever, but it's still a good time.